Live. Okay. BTS. You. Yep. What's up, Facebook? Just give me a second. Type in the title on Instagram. I have a guest today. I do. I'm excited. Um, Hi. In a second. Okay. What's up, Instagram? Facebook? Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. On Facebook, can you hear me? Type I can hear you in the chat. On Instagram, this is behind the scenes. So today with my guest, because I do have a guest today, you won't be able to see her, but you will be able to hear her. So if you want to see her, you got to go to my Facebook. And so the Facebook link is go to my bio, click that, and then you can go to my Facebook, and boom, you will be able to see Jalencia. So you will only be able to see her on Facebook. But as you know, I like to do the behind the scenes here on Instagram. So my name is Reka, and welcome to the live recording of Single You, the podcast. I'm a certified NLP life coach, and you know, my platform, I am on a mission to help women understand that they are worthy regardless of their relationship status. And singleness is not a punishment. And so we're going to talk about my program, Single You Academy. Well, I'm not going to talk about it. It's going to be my former client, Jalencia. She is going to talk about it, and I'm excited to have you on the platform today, Jalencia. Thank you for doing this. I really, really appreciate you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. This has been a journey and experience, so I'm excited to tell my story about it.
And you look so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
I was like, you're my sister for life. Like this is it doesn't end at coaching clients. So are you ready? Let's just jump into it. Let's start
Yeah.
at the beginning, okay? And so I always have to start with the first question I ask everybody on the podcast. And it is, did anybody have a conversation with you growing up about what makes a healthy relationship versus unhealthy?
No, I didn't start actually like kind of getting like tips and like advice from my parents until after I was going through the dating experiences. But it was like no sit down convo
Yeah.
about what's healthy and what's unhealthy. Like my parents geared me to like focus on my studies and my schooling, and I didn't really start dating, have my first boyfriend that was like kind of serious till I was 19.
Yeah.
So by the time I started dating and having a boyfriend, I didn't know anything about what's healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah. And so how did that affect you negatively or positively, not having those conversations? What type of relationships did you end up being in at the age of 19 when you first started dating?
I would say when I first started dating, I knew I didn't want a guy that was like a cheater
Uh-huh.
or someone that was like physically abusive. I knew those were like the cross lines of not being with a type of guy like that. But as far as like getting your emotional needs met, like knowing your goals, like where he wants to grow in life as you guys get older and kind of knowing his morals and his character, those were things that were like in the crossfires. Like I didn't really know what I was exactly looking for, so I was just kind of accepting like whatever and not really putting up any boundaries or anything. So I was just dating to like date, you know, but
Hey,
not really, having any like serious goals on like, okay, how is this going to be or what I actually wanted.
yeah. And you know what? It's so good that you say that because where we are, especially when we're young, and before we do the work, because trust me, 35-year-olds are still going through this. We think like, oh, okay, well, yeah. So my parents said don't date the bad boys or whatever, and I would think the same thing. Like, oh, okay, well, I know in and out of jail, if he's a drug addict, I'm not going to date him. But when that's all you know, the dysfunction that you set yourself up for, because dysfunction doesn't always look like dysfunction. He's not always coming at you in a way that you actually have discernment enough to see him, right? And so
Mhm.
when you were in these relationships, had was it how would you describe those relationships? Like outside of dysfunctional, what were you being cheated on? Were they like how was that experience for you when you were dating back then?
I would say they were very like emotionally manipulative and very like verbally abusive in those relationships. And it was because I didn't know myself or had found that love for myself. Like I was accepting that, knowing that I needed to leave, but dragging it on to like it's like wits end to leave instead of leaving when I first seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. We call that overstaying your welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that when you were in these relationships and overstaying your welcome, you dragged it out long enough? Because did you have like hope that he'll change? There's something I can do to
Yes.
make him change. Mhm.
Yes, I had hope that he would change and that the love that I gave him would make him see like I'm this great woman. You need to love me like,
Yeah.
but no.
And I can't wait till we start talking about your growth because the woman that you are now is just so beautiful and I love it. So, okay, so you're experiencing that growing up, and which, by the way, Jalencia, you are in your 20s. I won't throw your age out there, but I remember when you first reached out to me and you were like, "Hey, do you coach 20, somethings, whatever?" And I was
Mhm.
like, "No." Not really, unless you're serious. And because most people in their 20s, most women in their 20s, you are not ready to face yourself. You're not ready to be vulnerable. You are not ready to be honest. So let's talk about how did you find me, Jalencia, and how did you know you were ready?
Okay, so I actually had found you back in April of 2021. I had found your podcast. So I had been searching for stuff because I had just got out of a toxic relationship, but my ex was still lingering in back and forth.
Yeah,
So, when you look up things on Instagram and or Facebook and then it starts showing suggested stuff, you like popped up in that where it shows like different things that you browse or that you follow.
yeah,
And then one day I listened to you and I was like, wow, this is like the shit I've been going through with these different guys and like continuous, whether it's a relationship, dating, or get to know them. It's like the same shit every single time. But at that time, since my ex was still lingering around, I wasn't fully ready to like dive into having a coach. But it was kind of planting a seed, as they say, like, okay, this is something that I might, when I'm ready, this is something that I want to do.
yeah. And again, so that's why I say for women who reach out to me, one of the first questions that I ask now, because I learned this through you, and shout out to Nikita and Keetra and Ali and all of my clients, is you spent some time with me before you reached out to me to say, hey, can you help me? Which I love because now I know you have no like and trust. You know my mindset. You know that I'm talking to you. So after listening to the podcast for a while, your something was tugging at you, right? For you to reach out to me.
Yeah. So, I didn't mention that. So, yeah, I had listened to your podcast from like April 2021 all the way to November 2021 is when I actually joined Reka, the Single You Academy. So all those months, like I have been lingering back and forth with my ex and, on the dating scene. And it's just like I kept getting these same results. Like I thought, okay, maybe I can help myself. Like I don't need a life coach, like someone to tell me like how to be confident, how to be single. Like, I could be like doing other things with my money, which is bullshitting. But but yeah,
Right. But you're being honest with where you are. And so for you listening, girl, I want you to hear Jalencia's words. Right now you're in this mindset of like, I don't need that. I don't need that. I can help myself. I can save my money. I can do this. And so I would just ask, how well is that working out for you? And so obviously you came to the conclusion, Jalencia, like, okay, let me go ahead and let me let me reach out to Reka. So what did you tell yourself right before? Because I feel like some people are so nervous to send me a DM. So what did you tell yourself before you DM me on Instagram?
Um, I kind of wanted to give you like a scenario so it wasn't like you were judging me because I didn't know like what type of life coach you were going to be. Like it seemed like you were understanding, but you never know until you have that interaction. So I kind of like gave you a scenario and then was like, okay, can you help me? Like I just kind of came to you like halfway transparent, not all the way, but just like a scenario of like, okay, if you're going through this or you've been through this, are you able like to help me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, well, let me ask you this. And did I judge you or was I sweet?
No, she did not judge me. She was super sweet. She's like, okay, and you like kind of gave me like, okay, like what's your background, your career? Kind of asked me a little bit of information about myself, and then you kind of sent me like what your proposal looks like after our Zoom call. So you gave us a chance to like meet on Zoom, kind of person to person. So you could answer my questions, and I could get your answers questions,
Absolutely.
your questions answered.
Exactly. Yeah, and I do it that way. I call it my application process because before I would just, when I first started, you live and you learn, especially when you're starting your business and whatnot. I was like, oh, I get on a call with everybody and I'll help everybody. But then that's when you figure out who's real and who's not. So my application process is actually pretty long. It's like 2 weeks. Um, and then we make the decision. And then ultimately you get to go back and say, because I remember I was in Atlanta when we did our Zoom call. And yeah, it definitely was in November. And I was like, I'm gonna give you a few days to think about it, right? Because it's a nice price. It's not $50 a month.
Yeah.
It's serious. And I don't, and psychology wise, statistically, if you don't have any skin in the game, if you don't pay for something, you're not going to take it seriously. You're not, especially
Mhm.
because I give you a lot of work to do. And so it's easy for you to say, I don't have to do this. I'm not, this is free anyway. Well, I don't have to take it serious. But when you paying for something, you got skin in the game. You like, I got to do every work,
Mhm.
every video. I'm showing up to every call. But yeah, so I do the application process. So you get to know me, I get to know you, and then we get to see if we're great as coach and client, which obviously it worked out. And so let's get into that question. So you joined Single You Academy, and I know that you did have some hesitation about the price. Um,
Yes, I did.
right. So I want to know, what did you tell yourself? I guess the word convince, to convince you that
Mhm.
I need this, and so I'm going to go ahead and make the investment.
I would say like having like my ex still like trying to come back in my life, like lingering with the bullshit, like him trying to come back in my life, and then the guy I was talking to, like kind of seeing at the time, he was giving me the same like bullshit. So it's just like having that like personal epiphany or like I had like a emotional breakdown. I was just like, yeah, it's pricey, but also I think about all the times I've invested the money into these broken relationships and wasted my money and my time. Like, why don't I try something that's actually going to invest in myself so that I can come out better?
Yeah, that's so good. Say that because basically you were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's why I
Mhm.
always say, because part of the application process, I'm asking you, what have you tried? And a lot of people will say advice from friends, praying, some people therapy, and it hasn't worked. But it's because you actually haven't done the work to look within. And that's where it starts. People think, well, let me ask you this. Did you think like, oh, all I have to do is ask her for advice? I can willpower my way through. Did you think that was going to be your avenue of getting out of this cycle of dysfunction with men?
I would say no because my mom, she was giving me advice, good advice. Like, as I was going through this process with Rika, like I was hearing some of the things my mom would say, but it wasn't hitting. But, her holding me accountable and, like, going through the work that she was giving me, I was like, "Oh." And her maybe being closer to my age too had an effect on me, thinking like, "Okay, this is somebody that's in the same age range and been through the same experience,"
Yeah.
and very, like, confident, like, "Whoa, like, that's something that I wanna be."
Yeah, I got you. So you're saying like the homework I gave you and stuff like that. And so you are, I just want to clear this up. So you are saying the advice that like maybe your mom or even friends or whatever had given you before you met me, it just wasn't hitting right. Like you just didn't.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So then piggybacking off of that, okay, well, when my mom was giving me my advice and stuff, I just didn't get it. What do you think was different with me and you going through this program that made you go? Because all of the light bulbs that you had, Jalencia, I mean, and that's what I want for you, right? Like that is my promise to you if you join Single You Academy. Like you really gonna get the transformation that you want as a woman to come at the other end being confident and having the audacity to believe that you can get the type of relationship that you want. So what do you believe the difference was? Do you feel like you were just finally ready? It was the way I taught it? Like what do you think that was?
I say I was finally ready in the way you taught it, because I know, like, when you first started giving me the homework, like, that was a lot. Plus, I was, like, working 2 jobs too. So, it was, like, trying to balance, like, working 2 jobs and giving all this homework and, like, working on myself on places that I've never, like, went inside to work on, and just, like, the experience of, like, getting to put those raw emotions that I hadn't dealt with from, like, past traumas. Like, it was a lot, but it was at the point where I was ready to face myself, basically.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I always say like I'm at the intersection for you when you say you're ready. And then it's like either I do the work or I just keep going on the path that I've been on. And again, it's like how well has your past relationships worked out for you when you trying to willpower your way through. And then I give you the work and I applaud you for showing up every other week and facing yourself, looking in that mirror and be like, yo, Jalencia, like you fumbled your boundaries here, you did this. And so the amount of facing yourself and the amount of growth that you've had in the self-awareness area, it's exactly what I wanted for you, and I love that. All right, so let's talk about, as you were going through the program, I know you got some, like, I guess it would be opposition from friends and family members, like, "Why would you pay for that?" And "Why would you" what were those conversations like? Because I remember, pretty much weekly, you'd be like, "Yeah, so I told my friend this and that," and they were like, why would you need that? Or they question why would you pay that much money for a coat? And so tell me what those conversations were like.
Yeah, I remember, like, having, like, a dinner or lunch with my friend, and, like, when the new year came in, and she was kinda asking me, like, "How's your, coaching going?" And I told her it's going great, and, the question came up, like, "How much did you pay for it?" And I had told her, and she was like, "Wow, you couldn't do that yourself?" And I was like, "No, I couldn't." Like, I was so confident and just establishing, just saying, "No, I couldn't." Like, this is, like, some real work that has shaped my mindset. Like, I know in the past, that would be something that I wouldn't even share with anybody or let anyone know I needed a coach or even told them the price, but at that point, the work I had been doing with Reka had made me the confident woman to be sure of myself and sure of what I was doing for myself.
Yeah. And I was so proud of you when you would come back and be like, yeah, and I told her the price. And like, I didn't even care. Like, because you knew that you needed it. And it's, so on my platform, I'm trying to change the mindset, the way women think about the help that they're receiving. Because most of us do think like your friend, like you think you couldn't do that on your own. But again, I want women to face their track record. And if your track record is saying you're in this continuous cycle of dysfunction, then that should let you know, oh, I can't do this by myself. This is not work that I know how to do on myself because most of us don't even know where to start when we know, like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to do the work. Because had you ever even heard of a life coach before you found me?
Actually, I had not heard of a life coach, and I thought when I did kind of start hearing about it a little bit, but that's like when I found your podcast. I was always thinking that was like unreachable with me or like super expensive or like no, like we don't do that over here. Like I can read books and like, I can figure that out by myself. Like I'm embarrassed to let people know about my past like relationships. Like I didn't want no one to know, not even a coach or let anyone know that I was doing something like that.
Okay, so then obviously we had you reached out to me, we had our Zoom call, and then you decided to sign up. So the first week when I was like, okay, here are your assignments. What were you thinking then? Were you nervous? Were you like, okay, so what were you thinking then when you had your first assignment?
I was pretty nervous. Like I didn't know what to expect because I was kind of like so wondering in my head, like, what work is she gonna give me that helps me like turn into this confident woman, like work on myself.
Mhm.
Cause I'm like, I've never seen anyone do this before. So like when I got the first assignment, yeah, it was nervous and it was hard because I was working two jobs. But the thing with Rika was she was very flexible and understanding. And I feel like her being that flexible and understanding helped me stay at it and stay motivated.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm not it's not like I'm not a trainer, so I'm not cussing you out and making you do these 75 squats and this and that. Like, I definitely understand that we're all busy, especially you with the job situation. And so I wanted to make it a space where we had time and we had time to do the work. And I knew that we had 12 weeks to do it, 12 to 14 weeks to do it. And so I just appreciate, and we talk about this in the beginning and when we sign the contracts and everything, I'm like, just always let me know. Because what I am hoping and my reason for that is helping you be impeccable with your word, which is, one of the
Mhm.
four agreements. And that's
Yeah.
one of the books that we read. And so if you can learn to be serious about the things that you say you wanted growth in, like in the areas that you wanted growth in, if you can learn that and be impeccable with your word, it is going to spill out and pour out in the dating relationship realm. Because every time you show up and every time you do the homework, you're like, yo, look what I did. Weren't you proud of yourself every time you completed a worksheet, every time you showed up to a call? How did you feel about in those moments?
Yes, I felt very proud of myself, and I actually felt like I was learning something, not just to help me in the dating zone or to help me inspire me when I get a boyfriend or relationship that I want. This was stuff to help me in my daily life, even like further myself in all like aspects of my life.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. And speaking of dating, we're going to talk about, if you want to, do we have permission to talk about your boyfriend coming up here pretty soon?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, 'cause he's so cute. I love it. Okay, but before we get there, I do. Okay, so you're showing up and you're doing the work. So while you were doing the work, when you were going through the process, do you feel like you had heard the things that we were talking about before? Or did I open your eyes up to a whole new realm of like self-love and self-care and being a confident woman?
I had heard those things before, but I would say I wasn't listening. Like you can hear people say things or tell you things, but that doesn't mean you're always listening or ready to take action. So when I was doing the work with you, like I was actually in the mindset of ready. And some things you did like open my mind to that I just was like, whoa, I didn't know that. Or, oh, really? Like, okay, you're not supposed to accept that. Or, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Or you're supposed to look for these like key things when you're dating.
And I love that you said, that's why I don't call myself a dating coach, because I did not create Single You Academy to help you get a man. I did. That's not, no. I think that would contradict my message in saying you're worthy regardless of your relationship status. Is it okay to desire a husband? Absolutely. but I didn't want that to be the focus. So I'm really glad that you and all of my clients, you get that. Like you, when you do the work, you're like, oh, Sheila, this is this is more about self-love. So could you give me some ways, some tangible ways, maybe 2 or 3 ways that you saw yourself grow in the area of confidence as a woman? Like when you first met me, you were here, right? And then when
Mhm.
we were like up here. Do you have maybe some tangible things that you can say that you know for sure that you've grown in this area?
I would say when it comes to telling people no, I didn't feel guilty about it. Like if I didn't want to do something or if I was just tired, like I used to feel like guilty, like no, they're not gonna like me, like kind of like a people pleaser. And going through this course is like I said no, and I don't feel about it. Of course, you're going to explain, a little bit to your close friends, but at the same time, I felt comfortable saying no. And it's like, if you're a close friend, you should be close, but I'm not going to chase after you? So that was one way. And then able to set the boundaries. Like when I did decide to start dating again, like if you're not respecting what I'm telling you or what I'm not willing to do or where I'm trying to meet me at, like, bye. Like, like my feelings aren't hurt. Like truly, like, in the past my feelings would be all hurt and I'd be like, oh, I got these like butterflies, like I don't want to stop talking to him. But nah, it was just like, oh, nope, you're not respecting me. You're not respecting my boundaries. Like, bye. Mm.
Oh, that is beautiful. I love it. And so, that's why the 4 pillars I say that, we really go through and over inside of Single You Academy is knowing who you are deeper than your favorite color is blue, knowing what you want and how to get it, and then having the audacity to believe that you can get what you want and the patience to wait for it. So that's what I feel like you just said, because you no longer internalize like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't want to die single and I'm a single woman and I want to have this man. So let me just fumble all of my boundaries and do the thing that I have to
Mhm.
do, do the thing that I think that I have to do to get him to pick me. You are no longer in that space of like, I need to get this man to pick me. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So, and yes, and that is a confident woman. That's why I say, how do you show yourself that you love yourself? It's in your boundaries. So let's talk about some of those boundaries because I know you got a boo now, and I was there at the beginning. And I remember, but you know what? I will say this too, Jalencia, you were really smart in asking me, do you think I should be dating now while I go through Single You Academy?
Mhm.
I'm not the coach to tell you no. How do you feel about that? And I asked you, because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to make you me. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help you pull out of you what it is that you want, and then help you get that. That's why I say know what you want and how to get it, right? And so
Mhm.
that inlines the boundaries. And so I remember when you met this young man, what did you do differently this time around that you didn't do in your past relationships?
I would say I definitely took it slow, as in like the physical boundaries or like, him like coming into my place, like, and I actually took it slow as asking the right questions because after going through your academy, I actually knew what kind of questions and what kind of man I was actually looking for. Because I think that was one of your things, like, okay, you were like, if you're going to start dating, you need to know the questions to look for and look for the action behind it. Like, you can ask someone questions, they could tell you anything. But I actually was looking for the actions behind what my current boyfriend was saying. Like, are you really into that? Are you really doing that? And his character. So it was like when I was going through the dating with him before we became boyfriend and girlfriend, I was really looking at his actions and just taking it slow. I wasn't getting all my like heart invested in it. I was thinking first and not just having it all like all my emotions in. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
100%, girl, it does to me for sure. And so there's 2 ways I want to take this conversation. So the first way is when you say you were asking him questions, could you give us a I love tangibles. one or two questions that you asked him that help you determine if he was suitable enough for you or not?
Um, I would say in the beginning, I asked him the question, even before it got to like, oh, we're gonna go on a first date, just talking, like, are you even looking for a serious relationship? Like, are you looking to just be friends? Or are you looking for something like a situationship or like a friends with benefits? Like, what are you like kind of looking for right now? That was like one of the questions I asked him. And I kind of asked him like, for me, the kind of guy I'm looking for, like, are you have a good relationship with your parents? Like, how was your childhood? Like, what kind of degree do you even have a job? And if you do have a degree, do you really have a degree? Like the type of things like I'm looking for, like, are you really who you say you are in these beginning stages before I even start having these feelings? That was some of the things I was asking.
God, I love you so much. So, and then it's like when you're asking the questions, you listen for the answer, and then you see if his character matches up with what he says, because that's his character. That is who he is. If he says, yeah, I'm somebody who loves bike riding, you know what I'm saying? I try to at least ride my bike 4 times a week, and you've been talking to him for 3 weeks and he ain't never been on that bike, we have a character
Yeah.
flaw here. This is somebody who wants to be something, but he's not going to do the work to actually get there. And then you have to ask yourself, do I want to date somebody like that? Like
Mm-hmm.
there is a quote that says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're lying about this, if you're not being honest with yourself, and I'm not saying that makes somebody a bad person or a good person, it's just when you know who you are, Jalencia knows who she is now, I know who I am, that would be a guy who is not suitable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Exit the premises. Okay. So good for you and asking all of the right questions. So um when you were asking him these questions and you guys started, the talking phase, how did he receive it? Was he like, whoa, she asking a lot of questions. Obviously it worked out because you guys are still together. How did he receive it? Because I want do I want to say no, I want to hear your answer first and then I'll say, yeah.
He just kind of just answered the questions like very calmly, and he wanted to keep the conversation going, and he kind of reflected back and asked me the same type of questions. So he was like very honest and transparent from the beginning, and that's what I really liked and like what I was looking for, like the honesty and the calmness of it. Like, the sincerity, maybe that's better, the genuine of his answers. Like, it wasn't like, "Oh, hey, like, why you asking me that?" Like the bullshit that guys try to be saying. Like, he
Yeah.
actually wanted to keep the conversation and kinda know about me too. It was like an equal conversation. Like, I was trying to get to know him, and he was actually trying to get to know me. Like, we were both trying to get to know each other. It wasn't one-sided where I'm trying to get to know about him and he's barely asking me any fucking questions, you know what I'm saying?
Girl, because that's the life. That is how, I mean, he's one in a thousand. I'm not gonna, me, I don't paint all men with one brush, but
Yeah.
in this season, as of right now, I love the relationship that you guys have started and building. And so, how was your? Oh, okay. So this is what I wanted to say by hearing that, because I want, yes, you girl listening, to understand that you can ask the hard questions, and the one that is for you will not flee. You just
Yep.
heard what Jalencia said. We had Brian on the podcast last week, and he said the same thing. Like, if he's hella interested in you, he's asked the hard questions, because that is just another um, tool in the box of guarding your heart. That's what God asks us to do, is guard
Mhm.
your heart. And that's another tool. So now that I know who I am and I know what's suitable for me, let me ask all of these, questions so I can get to know him. And so when you were getting to know him, were you one of those women that kind of had an attitude and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this? Or how did you approach him? Were you very sweet and just like, hey, I just want to get to know you? How was your demeanor in that situation?
I would say I was very sweet. Like, I just want to get to know you. Like, it wasn't like high expectations. Like, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. Like when we went on our first date, for example, before we went on our first date, I kind of got in like, what kind of food do you like? Like, I love seafood, and So I was like, do you like seafood kind of, thing? But I didn't like suggest the restaurant. He actually suggested a restaurant that we go to. He picked it. So I didn't want to come off as like pushy or attitudey. I just kind of wanted to be a genuine, like, I'm getting to know you as a friend. And then we'll see where this goes.
And thank you for that, because that was just I wanted to prove to some of the men who think I'm creating man haters that I'm not. No, I'm always like, listen, if you're gonna be out here dating, you need to be sweet. Just know who you are and do not let him walk over your boundary. Because once you do that, you
Mhm.
have him. I can walk over her boundaries. Oh, she's not serious. So I love that. Okay. So let's get into, do you want to share maybe some of the questions that he asked you?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. He had asked me kind of like what I did for a career, and like, he told me he was about big on empathy. Like he was the first guy that actually told me about empathy. Like, what do you feel about empathy and what do you feel about loyalty? I think that was one of the questions. And like, what do you feel about being in a relationship? Like, what are you looking for? And like, I've never had a guy like ask me about empathy. Like, uh,
I love that. And so, yeah, like you said, it was a constant back and forth of you two getting to know each other. And I know that going through this process with you, you had to cut off some friends. Um, so
yes.
tell me what that experience was like, and why. Obviously I know why, but I want you to tell her who's listening. Like, I know we've had these discussions, but tell us about that. Losing friends as you're doing the work.
I would say it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was hard losing friends because like I have been hanging out with these friends like all summer. You hang out with your girls. You're having fun. You're going to the club and stuff or whatever. You and your girls do. But then it was like, I was ready to do the work of like the inside Jalencia, like looking at the man in the mirror, and they just weren't ready. And which is fine. Like, but it's like, was at a point where they weren't understanding either. Like, and I was like going through this with Reka. I was learning how to be more like transparent and kind of let them know because I thought they were my friend. Like, I'm going through a lot right now. I'm working, I'm going through both jobs, but like we're still friends, but like I just won't be able to like go out with you like all the time because I'm like working on myself and like going through this and learning how to establish boundaries. It's like I already told you twice. Like, I don't need to tell you another time, like, why we're not hanging out, like, every weekend going out. And it's just like them not understanding. I was just like, it's fine. Like, if you guys don't want to be friends, I'm totally fine with it because I'm not going to give up on myself just to be friends with you guys. Like, I can meet you guys later once I'm done with the journey and then we could link up if it's a mutual understanding and no judgment of us being friends, but right now I got to take care of myself.
Oh gosh, that was so good. What was it? I wish I could rewind real quick, as you said something, and it was, I think you said, "I'm not going to give up on myself just to be your friend." Um,
Yeah.
that is so beautiful, because what I know for sure about my clients, when you come to me, you think, I just got to get better at boundaries with men. No, no, no. If you're fumbling your boundaries with men, it's with everybody, because you are naturally just a people pleaser. Most women, we're just naturally a people pleaser because we want everybody to be okay. We have this mothering spirit. And so we're
Mhm.
people pleasing across the board. And so that's why that's why now I call myself the boundaries coach, because that is the work that I do with you, is we got to get these boundaries in place on every level. And the more that you do it, the more you flex that muscle, the better you get at it. Am I right?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So, and another thing I love that you said is like, it's not about judging your friends, but it is about going
No.
on a journey that if they're not involved with or don't understand, sometimes in this season, the friendship has to kind of stop, you know, and
Mhm.
we can come back or maybe we can't. But that's good on you to have gotten to a place where you were able to say, this is where I'm at. And if you cannot meet me where I'm at, I gotta go. And that's
Yeah,
okay.
because it did bother me. Your friends are your friends. You want to have, your girlfriends and stuff. Rika, know I was telling her about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm like isolated.
Yeah.
I have no friends. But Rika was there to like, help me and talk me through it. And that's what I love so much about her and being in her academy is like she was like a comforting hand, like a comforting person for me.
Yeah. And what did I tell you? I said, yeah, sometimes the work is lonely. That's a lot of things that people on, social media and they don't tell you. But when you are on this journey, it can be very lonely because if nobody else is, you're just like, okay, so it's just me by myself. Okay. But if you keep going, you'll get to where you are now. So a couple more things I want to talk about is let's go here. Let's talk about the books, that I had you read. Um, which one was your favorite and why?
I would have to say Trust. Trust by Ivana or Ilana,
Yeah,
right?
yep, Ayanla Van Zant. Uh-huh.
I That book was like everything, like a tearjerker, like a self-reflection, a like epiphany, like all those things in one. Like when I would read that book, I would like get in somewhere quiet and just like get in a zone because I knew it's gonna be deep. Like it touches your soul, that book. Like no lie. Like the first time I read it, like the first chapter, first couple pages, like I was just like bawling because I just related to it so much. Like I'm like, wow, like someone like her went through something like this. Like someone like her goes through these types of things. Like it was just like it was powerful.
Yeah, Ayanla makes you face yourself. So again, if you're not ready, um, you will not receive that book how it's supposed to be received. You will not have transformation if you're not ready. But you were ready, and you were ready to be honest with yourself. So that was my next question. You had to be honest with yourself, Jalencia. So if you want to share one thing, you don't have to share. You don't have listen. We're not. But what was the most honest thing? What was your like most honest realization about yourself?
Um, I would have to say that I was a very impatient person. Like when it came to like being in a relationship, like I just automatically thought, okay, if I look cute, I cook, I do all this, like I'm a great woman, I know how to love, be loyal, like I'm gonna get the perfect relationship without the work, like actually like finding a man that actually is somebody I want. But I didn't know what I wanted because I didn't know myself. And I also had to be honest of how I was presenting and letting men like run over my boundaries. Like I'm saying one thing, but I'm acting like this.
And that is a space a lot of women are not in. It's and you're in your 20s, like I said earlier. Women at 40 don't even have that realization, Jalencia, because they're not doing the work. You have to realize you can't just be walking around here talking about I cook, I clean, I can sex good, da, 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 so I'm gonna get the
Mm.
relationship I want. That ain't got nothing to do with getting the relationship you want. It's all about your boundaries. It is your boundaries, and that starts with knowing who you are. So, okay, so we'll call that a negative aspect that you found out about yourself. What positive thing did you find out about yourself while doing the work?
I would have to say one positive thing I found out. Um, like I would say my ability to like be more patient, like on a reflection of the negative. Like I learned more patience in the dating process and I learned to not like view every man as a fuck boy. Like every guy isn't a fuck boy. It's like how you're approaching, this dating world once you know yourself. Like you don't have to be like attitude or you need to take me here, do this. Like, no, like, just to get to know the guy, but know what you want when you're doing your dating.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, oh gosh, I had a thought and now it went away. Okay, if I think of it, we'll go there. But okay, so so obviously Single U Academy is like a 12 to 14 week program, and I give you homework and worksheets, and then we meet 8 times in those 12 to 14 weeks. How long did it take you to realize, oh, this is about to work for me? Was it a week, 2 weeks, a month? Like, at what time frame do you think you were like, oh yeah, here we go, this is what I paid for, like I'm so excited and I have no regrets?
I would say, well, I joined in November, and I would say like the kind of the end of November, beginning of December, and I feel like I started seeing results like January. So I would say about a month,
Yeah.
3 weeks. I would say about a month.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started seeing a change in like my mindset and being okay with things that back then I wouldn't have been okay with. Would have had like been all upset, angry, frustrated. Like I was just very calm and just like okay with the way things were going and like things were.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, because the process, so the Bible talks about be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And obviously, Single U Academy is a faith based program. We talked about God a lot inside of Single U,
Mhm.
right? And so, would you say that going through the academy, your relationship with God got better, closer? You unlearn, because I always say I help you unlearn a lot of the bad dating Christian theology that they regurgitated on us, and then we just learned to regurgitate
Mhm.
it. We had no idea what it meant. I help you unlearn that so you can relearn, because I love me some Jesus, okay? Um,
Yeah.
so in that aspect, yeah, do you think it made you closer to God? Like, where are you in your relationship with God now?
Yeah, I think it made me closer with God, and I think it made me actually search and understand with my understanding. Like, it actually made me get closer and wanna learn more and understand more versus before I was more, like, fearful or thinking, like, God was judging me or, it was, like, connect, but I would go to him, like, when I needed something versus just going to him to be thankful.
I love what I do, God. Like, this is why, this is why I do what I do. This is why. Oh my God. Okay. And another thing I wanted to say, with you saying, you started seeing results within a month. Again, I want you to hear what Jalencia is saying. It's not about dating, it's about getting to know who you are. And once you have somebody to hold your hand and walk you through it, the transformation of your mind could be quick. It doesn't take. Now, the work will always be right. Yeah, and
Mhm,
things that you're doing now that we are not coaching client anymore, but the work is always going to be. But the foundation that you lay and the mindset shift that you get to be
mhm,
confident enough to walk forward is actually pretty quick. You just have to start doing the work and building that habit. And then that's when this is where the nerdy part comes out, because I am neuro linguistic programming. I know the way that I built my program that, yeah, in the first few weeks, month, the neurons have started forming now in your brain for you to think this way now, instead of the negative space that you were in about you as a single woman, about men, about whatever. That is why the change can be quick, but you have to keep watering it. So let's talk about that. One of the things that I always say inside the program, I'm not going to be here forever. We're not going to be, this is not a 5-year program. Like, I will have to let you fly. We're not making a codependent relationship. And I encourage you to continue the work, right? So what does that look
mhm.
like for Jalencia nowadays? Because we were done, I want to say, were we done in February,
I
March?
think so. I
Yeah,
think February, yeah.
yeah, around February.
Around February, yeah.
So since I have let you fly, um, how are you continuing to do the work? What does that look like for you?
I would say I kind of go back on my notes that I have written or what I have journaled in.
Good.
Um, she had gave me like a list of some books, so
Yeah.
I'm still reading the different books that she gave a list of, and just kind of keeping that same kind of routine I established when I was going through the program, and I try to keep it now, even though I'm out of the program, so that I can keep my mind on the positive and healthy, because it's like you get on social media and you start seeing all this type of stuff, and then you start being like, oh, your mind starts to wonder. But I feel like keeping that same routine, even though I'm not in her program, on the different things that I'm doing, help is helping me stay on the right path.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to revert back to the Jalencia I met back in October of
No.
2021. Like she gone.
Hell no. No.
I heard that. Okay. So I do have a few more questions, but first, let me ask you if we have permission to talk about this. If not, we'll wait till the live ends. Because I know you sent me a DM like maybe a month ago, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to update you on me and my boyfriend. I can't wait to tell you the story about our trip. So is that a me and you conversation, or did you want to talk about that on the podcast?
Um, we can talk a little bit on here.
Okay. Okay. Well, tell me what you wanted to tell me because I'm excited. I was like, I'm excited. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, me and my boyfriend, we went to like San Francisco, and for like a week, like 5 days, basically, almost a week. And it was kind of my first time flying in a long time. We went to like different things in the day, but I would feel like traveling with him, I felt safe and I felt comfortable. And it was like we both did activities that we agreed on and things that we both wanted to do. It wasn't like, oh, well, we're going to do this or we're going to do that, like arguing over petty things. It was like a chill vacation where we both would say, okay, we're going to do this. We kind of planned our itinerary, and we were both like, we followed it.
So would you say like
So,
so you're saying versus what you've had in the past, this was very
yeah.
different. Okay. So then what would your past relationships would have been like? What would a trip with one of your exes been like?
Like basically, like as we got there, like a couple hours later or even the next day, it would have been like a big argument,
Yeah.
and that person just walking away from me somewhere where we don't even know where we are. But because he's pissed off and he's angry, he's just gonna leave me and walk away.
Yeah. Yep. And so I heard you say, um, your boyfriend now, which by the way, I would just like, can I take credit for I get not helping you find a boyfriend, but basically starting off on like um a good footing, right? Because we talked about
Yeah.
foundations and God talks about that, like having a good foundation. Can I take credit for that? Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a dating coach, but I feel like what perfect timing for you to have, because it's not like you were looking for your boyfriend either. And I just
No.
feel like it was, tell me if I'm wrong. It was just kind of like perfect timing for you to be going through this and then finding him at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like when I first started talking to him, I wasn't looking for a boyfriend or to jump into a relationship. I had learned how to take the dating process slow. But I would say going through the program and doing the work while, talking to him and beginning to date him helped me keep those boundaries and to be on the cautious side, well, guard my heart going through the process, so I'm actually getting into a relationship I exactly want, and not just doing it because I don't want to be lonely or I fear what others are going to say about me. You're not talking to the guy, like, why you're not his girlfriend, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Yeah. But when you know yourself, you take it at your pace and you really get
Yep.
to know him. So I'm gonna take credit, but I will say this: I'm still not a dating coach. Shout out to Anwar who's watching right now on Instagram. He's the dating coach. If y'all want a dating coach, go to him. But for me, I'm definitely the boundaries coach. And if you need to um, strengthen your confidence, then I would be the coach for you. So, let me think. Okay, so I'm just trying to think if I have. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Um, so, why should she join Single You Academy? So, talk to the woman you were in October of 2021. What would you tell her about this program? Why would you tell her to join?
I would say like if you're tired of like meeting different guys, but the same as character, the same as bullshit, the fuck boys, like because you don't know what you're looking for. You're just thinking that time's gonna heal you, and then you get in a new relationship and everything's gonna be okay because you haven't done any healing work or reflected on yourself. And I feel like you should join not just so you can be better at dating, but so you can actually be confident and achieve your goals.
I love that. I feel like that may be everything that I had for you. Um, okay, is there anything else you would like to add about working with me or Single You Academy or your growth as a woman? Did we miss?
Uh, I would say I loved working with Reka, like no lie. She was very flexible, understanding. Like she kept it real, parent, but she also kept you accountable, like for what you were doing. And she kind of met you where you were at, but didn't let you stay where you're at. About growth, and like my mindset has changed a lot. And go back to the friend that I had dinner with that I had told how much I paid for it.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Her I talked to her like a couple weeks ago and she's like, "Wow, you've changed. Like you've changed so much. Like I'm like so happy for you." So, like, not that I'm looking for her approval or anything, but just other people seeing the work that has been done for you. And even my mom had comment like, "Wow, I remember when you used to complain or do that." It's like, wow.
Wow, that is so dope. Every time I have these conversations with you guys, who I call my former clients, I'm just amazed at the work. Like the woman that you were when I met you, it's like all of you guys are so fragile. And that's where I was in 2017. And then after the 12, 14 weeks, the strength that you have is like you built muscles. It's like we was in here doing squats and push-ups for 14 weeks. And to see you flex, that audacity is so beautiful. And of course, right? Like it's just like if you lose weight or build muscle, you don't really see it in the first 2, 3 weeks. But then all of a sudden people start saying, girl, did you lose some weight? Or did you do this? So I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful that, your friend and even your mom can see the change in you. I love that. And hopefully with your friend, because I know we've talked about her before, she will now make the decision to actually do the work, and to get
Mhm.
help, whether it's me or a therapist, somebody. She needs to find, all of us need to find wise counsel. We can't do it alone. And so I'm
Mhm.
super proud of you. As I said on your last day, you chose Jalencia, and look
Mhm.
at what it has done for you. Your life trajectory is now on a whole different course. So that old Jalencia, I don't know where she went, but she gone. She on, she in the metaverse or something. I don't know. She's gone. The woman that you are today, I really hope that you keep nurturing her, Jalencia. I hope that you keep giving yourself grace. And I hope that you keep being honest with yourself. And it sounds like you're on the right track. You're still reading, podcasts, and all of that. So stay on that track. And I appreciate you. Okay. And I'm coming to Seattle for Memorial Day weekend. So I'll send you a DM and we'll set up a time for lunch or something. Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right. Thank you, Rika.
All right. Let me end the broadcast.